Well, good afternoon, Neil. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you, Alex?
Doing well. Thank you so much for being on here with me. We are super excited for this webinar. Neil, you never taught middle school, did you?
I have not. The closest I've come is I worked middle school summer camp for a couple of years.
Oh, gotcha. I'll count it. If you've had exposure to middle school students, I think you know what it's like. So yeah, so this is going to be a great webinar. I think for those of you that are in that middle trench of education where a lot of stuff happens, and it's a really hard fight between elementary school where everyone's friends, and then high school where no one's friends, and it's vicious Hunger Games action. So. Yeah, so this is going to be great. So to kick us off, thank you so much for being here, everybody. We're going to talk about middle school esports. I have an agenda built here somewhere. If I share my screen, it's in here somewhere. You got so many screens open that it's like hard to. There we go. Okay. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll get rolling. So my name is Alex Herbie. I'm the integrations manager for education at Generation Esports, and I'm going to be kind of the MC for tonight on the webinar, running the slideshow for Neil, and then we'll kind of switch, even though I'll still be running the slideshow, and Neil can field some questions or anything in chat. So at any time during the presentation or the webinar, if you have something that you want to ask, go ahead and feel free to raise your hand. Throw it in chat. Chat is the best way for us to see it, just because the Q&A sometimes gets lost in all the windows that we manage while we're doing the recording. So please throw anything you've got into chat. Thank you so much. So without further ado, the agenda's here. So we're going to talk about middle school esports first, the competition component. So I'm going to turn it over to Neil, and take it away, my friend.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. So, like Alex said, my name's Neil. My background is in education. I taught all levels of mathematics for 8 years, along with physics. Additionally, I was the Timberwolf Esports head coach at Blue Valley Southwest High for 3 years. I'm very proud to say we were the fall major Valorant champions in 2020, but I always like to say I'm more proud of all the kids that just came to my club and made some new friends. Nowadays, I'm the director of platform operations at Generation Esports, so that means I work with our account managers, our support team, the folks who will help you use our competition platform and our learning experience platform. And I like to think of myself as an advocate for excuse me, for educators at Generation Esports, like Alex. So Alex asked me to pop in today and talk a little bit about our middle school esports league, and I'll focus primarily on our fall major competition that's coming up. We'll go over, what games we like to play, what the calendar looks like, the structure of the league, and then I'll leave you with pricing and where you can learn more if you're interested. So let's just start with kind of big picture of the league. I mean, you can see our mission statement on the screen there. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but the short version is we know that video games can be a great way to help connect students not only with each other, but with the school. And so I view my role as the director of platform operations to help make the middle school esports league as great of an event that you can use to help you connect with as many kids as possible. And so that's really what drives a lot of our decision making. So Alex, if you would move us forward, let's talk about the league a little bit. I always like to start with the games. So you can see on your screen there are 7 different games that we support in the Middle School Esports League. There are 9 total modes, so you'll see a couple of the games are offered twice there. All of these games are rated E for everyone or E10 plus, so for ages 10 and up. There's a variety of individual games and some team play there. So you can see, like, on Monday, we have Super Smash Brothers 1 versus 1. That's a fighting game on a platform where you try and knock the other person off. There's no blood. It's Nintendo characters. It's very cartoony. And then on Thursday, we've got the same game, but it's crew battles. So you got to get the team elements. Kind of like, I like to compare it to wrestling, where you've got your individual component, but you've also got the team there. Chess is not often thought of as an e-sport, but a great scholastic activity. And so why not help your chess club expand beyond the confines of your school? So we like to offer it in the Middle School Esports League as well.
Well, did you
Um,
ever do chess club in school?
did I do chess? I was
Were
the
you?
elementary chess champion. Thank you very much at Good Shepherd
Oh,
Catholic.
oh, well, I was gonna say, when you're in chess club, I also did chess club in middle school, and I think that chess club is something that can either be really big or can be really small at where you're at, and I think that this is a great opportunity for you to branch out if you're doing chess and to play against some players that are your same age but have different moves. Because if you meet every week for chess club and you're playing against the same 8 people, it kind of
Right.
gets a little stale, right? And so another way to open up those borders for that.
Yeah, exactly. Um, What else do we have on here? Rocket League is a great sports simulation game. I tell people Rocket League is the best $20 I ever spent, and it doesn't even cost money anymore. It used to cost $20. Now it's free to play. It's still the best $20 I ever spent because it rewards team play and it rewards individual skill. And it's so easy for parents and administrators to understand. It's indoor soccer with cars that can fly. Okay, it sounds crazy, but it's so much fun. And really, it takes about 30 seconds of watching to understand. Mario Kart, as you know, I'm sure most folks know, is a racing game, but also very easy for a new student to pick up, very easy for your administrators, your parents to understand. Brawlhalla is another platform fighter there. And then Minecraft, we just know a lot of kids like to play the creative modes in Minecraft. So we developed an esports mode. It's called Survival Games. If you've ever read the books or seen the movies, The Hunger Games, it's kind of like that. A bunch of players are dropped into some wilderness. There's some supplies, and the one player that's the last person standing wins around. So let's go ahead and move forward, Alex. So I always like to talk about this right after putting the games on the screen because there's two different kinds of people that call my staff to ask, how do I get started with the Middle School Esports League? There's the person who's like me, that's the gamer and understands all those games and wants to use those games as the mechanism to connect with the kids at school. And then there's the person who doesn't understand any of the games. They say, it's not my jam. I'm just here to help the kids out. Maybe I was voluntold to do this. Maybe some kids asked me, and oh, I happen to have some of the equipment at school, but I don't know the first thing about the game. So gosh, I mean, esports, you make it sound so official, so competitive. I don't know the first thing about coaching. How am I supposed to be a coach? That's okay. If you're that kind of person, I want you to take a deep breath. And maybe we don't have to use the word coach. I like to use the word general manager. And the reason why is because gaming knowledge is helpful, but it's not really necessary. And the kids are probably going to know how to play the games that they want to play, right? And you can look up on YouTube how to get better at Rocket League, and you'll find a million results. But what you know is how to be an effective teacher, and that will help you with esports because even if you don't know the first thing about Rocket League or about Brawlhalla, you can still teach the kids how to be productive communicators maybe when they're not doing so hot in a game, maybe they start to get a little snippety, and you can use that as a teachable moment to help them, learn that kind of skill. Same thing. Well, I just used that example, right? You're losing a little bit. Okay, well, let's talk about mental fortitude. How do we keep a steady head even when we're not in a great situation? Digital citizenship is a big thing. Being a nice person to the person on the other end of the screen. Uh, Trust me, esports provides many learning opportunities to be a good digital citizen. Um, and everyone's favorites: teamwork, leadership, healthy habits. I've got some of my high school coaches tell me that they actually do cardio conditioning 2 or 3 days a week before esports practice, and I just think that's the coolest thing ever because yeah, I mean, if we're going to be sitting around playing video games, we should probably be healthy while we do it too.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to jump in there too, as somebody who doesn't know and still mostly doesn't know many things about esports. I started an esports program at our high school, and I was definitely the general manager, maybe even a step removed from that as facilitator or adult in the room. And so, and our kids did great, working through those things that you are in your wheelhouse, like Niels mentioned here, the communication, mental health, citizenship, healthy habits. Those are vital. to making the program successful, and your kids having a little bit more of a differentiation for esports.
Okay, so I said I'd give a little emphasis to the fall major. That is our fall series of competitions that are coming up. The preseason does start next week, but don't worry, it is optional. It's like, oh gosh, the next week, that's like 5 days away, right? It's optional. It's 2 weeks long. So, maybe instead of September 16th, oh gosh, I should have had my calendar open. Maybe we could talk about September 23rd. Or the regular season begins September 30th. It is 7 weeks long. And, if we think back that list of games, if I am a student and I am participating, let's say in Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, on the crew team, my crew or my roster will play one match per week, every week on Thursday for 7 weeks. That's the duration of the regular season. What else? What else? I can, as a student, little Neil Doolin can be on multiple rosters. Maybe it's just up to you, the educator, if you want to allow that and if you want to support that. So maybe if your club meets Mondays and Thursdays, I can double dip. I can play Super Smash Brothers Ultimate twice if I wanted to. But we'll leave that decision up to you. Additionally, because the season is 7 matches, maybe, every school's schedule is a little different. You have your parent-teacher conferences here. Maybe you have a fall break. The end of your first quarter is going to be on a different day than another school's. So we also have some makeup matches at the end. Maybe if you can't play all 7 matches on time, that last week we allow for a makeup match to be played as well. Let's see. Perfect. Thank you, Alex. Then, okay, I get it. The fall season's about 2 weeks away. That could be pretty stressful to think about. Maybe we want to take our time and really establish something, and maybe let's look at the winter or the spring. In that case, I just wanted to show you the dates for our other 2 school year events. The spring major functions identically to the fall. So it's the same games, the same match days, same time, just takes place in the spring semester. But we also have a winter event, which I think is really cool. It kind of came from, uh, honestly, we just had some educators write in that said, well, have you guys thought about varying the games a little bit? My Smash kids just want to play Smash all year. My Rocket League kids just want to play Rocket League all year, and it gets kind of stale, and then they get bored with the club and they don't want to come back. Or maybe I'm getting bored with it as the educator. And so what we do with the winter warm-up is I like to think of it as almost like it's an intramural competition, or it's a training grounds of sorts. So whereas in the spring and the fall, we'll have a playoff at the end and we'll have a winner and we'll have some trophies and plaques. With the winter warm-up, we use that as a time to just encourage kids to, hey, let's try something different. Let's try a new game. So there actually is no playoff in the winter. It's just, hey, if you want to try something new, I think it's 4 or 5 weeks. Don't check my live math on that, napkin math. Let's call it 4 weeks. Hey, here's 4 weeks where, you know what, yeah, Rocket League 3 versus 3 might be your favorite game, but let's just try Splatoon for fun. Let's see if we like it, So there's no playoff, there's no winner, but it's just something. If your esports club is going to meet anyway, let's try something new. And again, I also like to say, if you'd like to just dip your toe in as opposed to jumping headfirst into competition, maybe winter would also be a great time to sign up because there's no stakes at all. So if something goes wrong, that's okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, so thank you, Alex. So what does the actual match day look like? I know that's a question we get a lot. So how our platform works is you and your students will sign in to our website. And I'm trying to think of how to say this in the most concise way. There are generally, it kind of depends on the game, but there are generally 3 different times where your students can choose to play their match for the week. So again, let's stick with the little Neil Doolin example. I'm on the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Crew Battles team. So on Thursday, I'm going to go down to, Mr. Herbie's room for the esports club meeting. And maybe if school dismisses, let's say at 3:15, well, great news. I am probably going to, well, Mr. Herbie will probably want me to choose to queue and play my match in the 4 o'clock window. We build in a couple options here. Usually they're 3, 4, and 5 p.m. because schools all dismiss at different times. I have schools just in central time, kind of like in the Midwest where we're based. I've got schools that dismiss as early as 2:30 and schools that dismiss as late as 4:30. And so, we're trying to accommodate as many schools as we can. So that's why we offer a couple different times there. And how it works is students have to queue or check in for a match by a specified time. And in this case, it's 5 minutes after the hour. So I, little Neil Doolin, have to go on to generationesports.com and I have to check in for my match by 4:05 p.m. That's because at 4:05, our server looks at, okay, these were all the different schools and little Neil Doolins that said they want to play Super Smash Brothers Crew. Let's pair them up as fairly as possible. And I really like this because remember how I said earlier, oh, your parent-teacher conferences, they might be on a different day than another. Oh, we had a water main break or we have a snow day or something. How am I supposed to reschedule my match? You don't have to. And there's not someone on the other end just sitting there waiting for your kids to show up when they're not going to, because we've only paired up schools and players that are online ready to play. And the way it does that is based on your current tournament standing. So if you've got some kids that are, they're doing real hot, they've won 3 in a row, it's going to look for another group of kids that are also 3-0. And I really like the other side of that coin too. If you've got a kid that, is maybe not doing so great, they're getting a little discouraged, they've lost 2 or 3 in a row, it's going to look for another student with a similar record. And so that way we're creating opportunities for as much success as possible. Um, so, like I said earlier, there are playoffs at the end of the regular season, and yes, there will be winners. It kind of depends on the game and which bracket, but if your students win a tournament, we'll send you a trophy, maybe it's a plaque, and a set of medals for your students. Additionally, this is something I'm super proud of. I am a millennial, and you might know my generation was known for having those participation ribbons, right? This is not a participation ribbon, but there are, for most games, more than one set of winners. Alex, if you would move forward one slide for us here. So I like to think of this model, I like to compare it to college basketball and March Madness in March. There's not only the NCAA tournament. Alex, by the way, it hasn't advanced. I don't know if you're on a different window. But in March Madness, of course, there's the NCAA national champion, right? And that's awesome. But there's also the NIT, and that has a champion. I think there's the CBI, and there's the Vegas Invitational. All of these are postseason tournaments that all have a winner. Well, why, let's do that too. So that's what we do here. So we take the group of students that played the best in the regular season, and they get to duke it out for the championship in our championship bracket. But depending on the size of the game, we might offer 1, 2, 3 additional playoff brackets for those next slices of kids. That way, they also have opportunities to experience success, which I think is really cool. Yeah, okay. So if you want to learn more, and I've got that a little later on, we've actually got a coaches webinar coming up Thursday this week if you'd like to come. Real quick, I'll talk pricing here. So we're running a couple promotions right now where Middle School Esports League membership includes some hardware to help you get started. So both our annual campus access and our ultimate annual access include some Nintendo Switch bundles. The annual campus access that will cover your school in all tournaments for 12 months from whenever you buy. Right now, that also comes with 2 Nintendo Switches and 2 copies of all 3 of those Nintendo Switch games, in addition to some extra peripherals as well. The Ultimate bundle comes with 4 instead of 2. So that would really help you kickstart your program and reach a bunch of students. If those are a little out of reach, or maybe we don't need to entertain hardware, We've also got our standard access pricing, which is $500 for unlimited students in one campus for one season. So that would be, fall or spring. Or we can also do pay per student. That one pass, that $20 would still unlock access to all the tournaments in that season for that student. So I could still do my 2 Smash Brothers Ultimate tournaments on one pass. And we're committed to always offering a couple free opportunities because we don't want cost to be a true barrier to access. So this school year in the Middle School Esports League, both Rocket League 2 versus 2 and 3 versus 3 will be free for participation. They won't require an access pass, as will 10-minute chess through chess.com. That also will not require an access pass. So I apologize. I got a little ahead of myself earlier. You all know how it is. You're constantly iterating on your lesson or your slides or whatever. But just to not take up Alex Herbie's whole hour here, where can you learn more? You can sign up to join the league, and that will put you on our email list. I will put the link in the chat here. There's no cost, no obligation. It's just you're creating a school in the league. We have a couple MSEL specific coaches webinars coming up. That's where we'll go much more in depth than I did today. Generally these webinars are probably about 30 or 40 minutes, plus questions, and I've been going for about 15 minutes here today. They also include a full walkthrough on how to use our competition platform. It includes, hey, this is what your students are going to do on match day and the buttons they click to get checked in. And this is what the match page looks like. And if you can't attend one of those webinars, you could also schedule a personal phone call or video call with our account manager team. And I'll put that link in the chat as well. And then the day of a competition, or if you're just on the website and you just have a real quick question, there's a bubble at the bottom right that'll connect you to our support team, and you can just chat with someone right there. It's real easy. Yeah, with that, I know I've been going kind of fast here. Sometimes I just get so excited. I wanted to pause for a moment and see if there were any questions that I missed in the chat.
Neil, I've got two here that they sent to me. They might have meant to send it to everybody, but
Let's do
they
it.
sent it
Yeah.
to me. One is how many teams are in the Middle School Esports League, and what is the most popular game?
Okay, that's a great question. So, when you ask how many teams are in the Middle School Esports League, can I change the question to be how many schools are in the
Sure.
Middle
Yeah.
School
How
Esports
many
League?
schools
Because a school,
participate? Yeah.
team is a little nebulous.
Yeah.
Some folks will say I've got one esports team, and other schools will say, well, I have my Rocket League team, and I have my Smash Brothers team, and I have my Splatoon team. So
Yeah.
just
Important
clarify.
distinction. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So let's see. I think we've got um it's about I think about 400 schools participate in our last spring season alone. We've got over 1,000 schools in the network. They just, kind of pick and choose which seasons they're going to play. So not necessarily every single season, but we've got over 1,000 in network. And yeah, as for the most popular game, again, there's kind of two ways to answer this question. There's most popular game by students playing or by schools supporting. And so let's just put them together. The top two games are Rocket League. Um, just it's so simple to learn and difficult to master. It's got that team play element, easy to understand. It's a sports sim. And then Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, just because just about every kid's either has a Nintendo Switch or has access to a Nintendo Switch. Maybe they've got a friend's house or something. It seems like just about every kid somewhere
Yeah.
or everywhere has played Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. So that is our second most popular game for sure. And again, the order kind of, do you look at raw kids or do you look at the number of schools supporting it? That's what would
Yeah.
make them flip first or second, but they're both top two.
Gotcha. Great. Okay.
Any other questions before I hand it back off to Alex?
All right. I think that's great. I've got a kudos for you here from the group, from the audience. So good job, Neil.
Thank you.
All right. Again, Neil, thank you so much for that. That was, I mean, I learned more about it and I work here. So I think that's that's always a good sign that if you learn something new about something like that, then that's going to be beneficial to those of you that are watching. All right. So we're going to pivot here for the curriculum side of this. So we just went through competitive esports, and now we're going to start talking about scholastic esports, and specifically what we're going to talk about. I'm going to try and talk about this in generalities as much as I can. Um, and this is going to go along with our curriculum that we offer. However, a lot of the principles will be generic enough for you to spin something up on your own, to create a club or a class of your own, for esports, and using the skills that esports can teach. So a little bit about me. I was a middle school technology teacher, and then transitioned into the high school technology teacher, and then transitioned into, while I was a teacher at the high school, I was also a district technology specialist. I piloted esports in our district, with good success. Although we did not compete, we did run the class and the curriculum. And then finally, I work here with Neil on the education team, as an education integrations manager. So just a little bit about me. So, in talking about why there's a middle school course, or why we specifically support a middle school course, there's a lot of schools that request something for their middle schools to do, because there's a lot of gaming clubs, there's a lot of after school programs, there's summer school programs. And, what could we offer people that were with us, or what could we offer to help schools and teachers build programs like this out to be more supportive of students' academic and, kind of personal and career goals, right? Which is what we always want to do. And so, we have our first course, which is kind of dedicated or mostly used in the high school at the ninth grade level. But when you start thinking about esports as a pathway in your building or in your district, then there needs to be vertical alignment with that. And so in that, you need to have something at the middle school level to build that esports mindset, or that career outlook mindset, so that you can be able to have a full program with students coming into the high school ready to go. I would say, and that's where our middle school course came from, is from those origins. A lot of the things that we teach in the middle school course, or that we cover, which you can do if you'd like to build something yourself, or if you'd like to integrate into your program, are things like organization, perseverance, self-advocacy, self-regulation, decision making, digital citizenship obviously is a big one, and social emotional learning also a big one, right? So, in middle school, like I joked a little bit before, middle school is this kind of weird transition for kids. And as a middle school teacher for a number of years, I definitely understand that all of these things are highly important. And what's unfortunate about the middle school environment, at least in the US, is that there is rarely a school that has a class that offers these skills as a standalone curriculum. And so you get a lot of kids that are good at school, they do fine. A lot of kids that aren't good at school, and they really start to suffer in middle school, and that can set their mindset for the rest of their academic career. And so if you start to do poorly in middle school just because you had all that support in elementary school, it's not necessarily your fault. It's not necessarily the student. It's just the system that we're in. Teachers have so much that they have to get through. There isn't as much time for hand holding and circle time and friendship. And so kids get kind of dropped off. They get dropped off this ledge, and kind of it's sink or swim at middle school. And so, that's something that we really want to make sure that we are helping to alleviate students getting lost in the mix in middle school. And so being able to have a support structure as a class for credit is something that addresses that challenge. So an overview of how we structure our middle school course is kind of like an RPG. Dare I say Dungeons and Dragons? I think that that's gotten a lot less stigma over the years, but it is a really cool kind of game-based course where you get experience points, you do quests, and you kind of level up your character sheet as you go through the course. It's really story driven. Our writing team has done an amazing job with the story and the narration of everything, and it's a really fun course to go through at the middle school level for both the student and the teacher. Obviously we provide everything for the teacher, so not having to come up with all this, scripting and storylines and all this stuff is a huge relief. But then the kids getting to experience and interact with this as well. It just builds so much, kind of confidence and so much like content knowledge that students are going to retain in the course because they're passionate about it, and it's linked to something that they are passionate about, which is video games. So some of the big things that they learn about, is that they're going to learn how to cope with skills. They understand careers, respect differences, mental health. These are just some of the things that are in this course that drive that kind of mission that we have to educate the whole student. It's not just about educating them on game content, which we don't actually do. It's about educating their academic goals, educating them for their career goals, educating them for their physical and mental wellness goals. There's so many things that we try to hit in this course and in our curriculum as a whole, that's why we kind of use the term that we teach to the whole student. All right, so we want to help students develop, like I just said, academically, socially, emotionally, physically. Even if you don't decide to use our curriculum in your middle school or in your program at all, esports fundamentally allows students to be more successful in school, right? It provides that diversity. It provides that extra type of activity or club that students can engage with that they may not be able to engage in other types of activities or clubs or anything like that due to a number of different reasons. But this is kind of the last thing. If you're trying to get more kids involved in the school building or the school climate, esports is going to be the thing that finally rounds that off to get everyone involved, because it says that studies have shown that about 97% of kids play video games, right? So yeah. So where are we at here? So let's talk about why it's good for you as a teacher. One of the things is that it is standards aligned, and we did that on purpose as teachers to make sure that the standards are there for your administration, for this is to be an easy pass, right? So we align to the ISTE standards, the Castle 5 standards, and the National Health Education standards for the middle school course. And then if you're following the national course code system, these are some codes and courses that you could use in your argument to implement something like this. Mental health is obviously a big thing. The Surgeon General in the U.S. Announced that there was a mental health crisis in the United States several years ago, and it's just something that we feel very strongly about, and so it's completely integrated into our courses, into the curriculum. And so with mental health moments, these are, like I said, integrated. And so with traditional SEL content and lessons, they tend to silo themselves away from the rest of the curriculum or the rest of the day. And so it might be contact time, advisory time, homeroom time, end of the day. It doesn't matter what you call it. You're stopping everything to talk about mental health or talk about social emotional learning, and kids don't connect with that. The teacher's disengaged, the students are disengaged, and we know from studies and from data that it does not work. So it's not all work and no play with gaming concepts or with the middle school course. There is some things that you can do, and so you can do things like wellness game or web-based games on your phone, Chromebook games, or personal devices. These are things that can add some kind of flair or incentive into your esports program at the middle school level. This can be that carrot that you dangle at the end of the week or the end of the lesson to get them through the content that you want to do. Just making sure that there is some sort of incentive for students to continue to perform in class for you. What do we got for you? We've got 83 one-hour lessons for you with 20 to 30 minutes of direct instruction, 20 to 30 minutes of purposeful play, and 5 to 10 minutes of reflective journaling. These are obviously going to vary depending on what your classroom looks like, because if you've got a very talkative group, yeah, you might not have less time. You might have less time for purposeful play. If you have a very quiet group, it might be closer to that 20 to 30 minutes of purposeful play, or, these numbers are kind of loose. Just a little glimpse here at what the lessons actually look like from the book. And I apologize, I forgot to grab new screen grabs of the new book. This is from the older book, but you kind of get the gist here, is that we've got the overview, standards, materials needed, and then what the actual directions are. If you scan the QR code here, that will take us to the digital sample that's available on our site. Same for this one. You can see there's a worksheet. If you'd like to use the worksheet in the printed version for your students to look at the character sheets, and then just some other examples here of what we've got for what students might be looking at. We currently, and I'll talk about this in a second, but we have all of this online too. If you're more keen to having a online environment or an LMS, which we call an LXP, for our experience platform, with a screen grab here of that. So, this is what it looks like as students go online. They work their way with you down the sidebar here through the different types of activities and lessons as you do in class. So how does this work? You can teach it, asynchronous versus synchronous, blended, traditional, however what your teaching style is something that's super up to you, right? It's very customizable to what you want. And then, gaming concepts is something that anybody can teach. We write it generically on purpose so that everyone can learn together and be that kind of advocate for students in the room, and to support esports and to support student passion in learning. All right. Well, Neil kind of probably could have touched on this just a little bit in the tech requirements for having some esports at your building. But there's two very important letters in esports, and those are IT. And so IT is going to be your friend in anything that you do with esports. So make sure you're on their good side, or you send them something nice before you start up start down the esports pathway. So you got to look at your age requirements on games. That's super important for either your board, your administration, your parents. You want to make sure that you are following those guidelines that are available on every game. It should be right on the front, and then there's a little bit more information on the back of each game that can tell you exactly what they mean for E for everyone, or E10, or M for mature, or anything like that. Software, in any of the curriculum, we don't provide any software because you don't need any software. Everything's completely online based, and so nothing is required for that. However, your district may need to whitelist some sites. So you might need to whitelist some game servers. You might need to whitelist some kind of login, what do they call those, Neil, where you're the they're not
launcher, a game
launchers. Yeah, the
launcher. So
launchers,
like
right?
Steam, Epic Games, that
Exactly.
sort of thing.
Yep. Accounts might need to be done. That might need to be set up through your IT department. And then equipment that you need to play those. And so a lot of schools will dual purpose machines that they have already, or it depends on the game. You may get a switch, you may get a couple of switches, maybe from us. Everybody's tip here for technology is, have you tried to restart it? That's kind of everybody's go-to tip for IT. Online learning, so another couple of screen grabs here on what it can look like. We have discussion boards, we have assignments, tests, quizzes, journal entries, discussion boards, the whole gamut, with a million different question types. If you're interested in how our LXP works, please join us for another webinar on that. We have several on our YouTube page, on the Gaming Concepts YouTube page, which I can link out here in a little bit. All right, aside from that, we have resources for you to be successful, because we know as teachers, things like an esports initiative from the administration sounds great, but it comes down to the teacher to actually implement those things. And we are here for you, because a lot of times things roll downhill from the administration, and And that is something that gets put on teachers to figure out sometimes. And that's not what we want. As former teachers, we want it to be as easy as possible for you to get in and be able to do this successfully with students. And so we have a dedicated service team for curriculum, teaching, and tournament support. We offer webinars every other week, all throughout the year, even through summer. If you're looking for things like how to do it, how to fund it, coaching, teachers' experiences, students' experiences, or if you need to send your administrators there for one of these webinars to convince them, please do that. And then we also have our YouTube channel where you can watch everything that we have done on demand, as well as our podcast and how to for everything that we do. Oh man, I feel like I was talking a mile a minute. I knew this was going to go a little bit faster than rehearsed, but I think everybody will appreciate that. So, last thing I've got, when you implement something new at a district or at a building, it doesn't necessarily have to be, esports. It can be anything kind of tech, almost tech related. But if you don't have the proper training, you may not get the full experience out of it, right? And so, I remember when we switched over and started using Apple products at our high school and MacBooks at the high school. It was great, but all of the teachers only used them for as a laptop, and they'd open Chrome, and that was it. And that was all they could do with them. But we were paying at the district. We were paying for professional development from Apple to get to know how to do things like GarageBand and iMovie and clips and all these cool things, ebook authoring and all that stuff. And nobody was using it. Nobody's using it. And so through a couple of those trainings that we were able to get finally scheduled, we started to see students and teachers get really into the Apple ecosystem of let's use this device to its full potential. Right. And the same's with this. If you really want to get in and go all in on esports or an esports pathway, we do offer professional development to help you and your district out with anything that you might need in terms of questions, training, and support. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, good one here. How much is it? Everyone always asks that. How much is it? Well, that's not something I can answer, not necessarily on purpose, but just because it really depends on what you're looking for. Like, do you want one course? We have 6 courses now, but definitely we will get you some contact information on how to contact us at gamingconcepts.gg to be able to talk to somebody that will walk you through what we've got because I will not be able to provide you since I'm not a salesperson, I just work on the ed team. You know what the pricing can be, and so I don't want you to miss on something like getting switches or something with a certain package or whatever. So, good question though. Everybody always tries to get me with that. Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes, exactly. Yes, we did say that we have 6 courses. So the 6 courses that we do have are, no, this is going to be a trial for me because I have to count on my fingers, but middle school. So we have the middle school courses, what I just talked about. We have fundamentals, which is kind of a 8, 9. It could be somewhere in there, right? A beginning high school course or right at the end of middle school. That's our fundamentals course. Then we have interactive media, which is an overlay of doing a digital media class or a Photoshop class or something like that. And then from there, we have streaming, we have shoutcasting, and then we have brand new course, computer applications, are all of the courses that we offer. Good questions. All right. Well, I'm going to call it at a nice even 45 minutes for this. I think that'll be good. Neil, you have anything you want to add or anything in close?
Uh, the only other thing I thought of is, I had this written down on my slide and I forgot to mention it. But if you're interested in adopting the whole package, the holistic esports solution, the gaming concepts courses include league membership fees. So it's actually you get the league for free. So if you're interested,
Yeah.
that could be a way to pay for your esports program after school.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me reiterate that when you buy the curriculum, you get the tournament for free. So, yes, well said, Neil. We're always trying to give stuff away. Very good. All right. Again, everybody, thank you so much for being on here with us today to learn about the Middle School Esports League, learn about the middle school curriculum. Starting an esports league or starting an esports class, club, activity is not easy. It's not easy and it takes a lot of work. And so, whether you would like to go with us or whether you just want to bounce some ideas off of us or get some ideas from us, please contact us. We are here to help you no matter what. We are in it for the students and in it for esports. And if that means that you are successful doing something else other than being with us or being with somebody else other than us, that's completely fine with us because we know that you're going to try and make a change for students and have students in their best interest for students. And so again, thank you so much everybody for being on here. Much luck in your esports journey, and we will see you later. Neil, thanks so much for being on here. Super
Thank you.
appreciate it.